everyone, welcome to the Curious World Asia 2015. So today we are here at the Grand Millennium Sukhumvit, Bangkok, Thailand. สวัสดีค่ะคุณผู้ชมรายการ Cat Showcase ค่ะวันนี้นะคะอาจจะดูแปลกไปสักเล็กน้อยนะคะที่ดิฉันเปิดรายการเป็นภาษาอังกฤษค่ะเพราะว่าวันนี้ค่ะดิฉันกำลังอยู่ในงานประชุมผู้ประกอบการโทรคมนาคมระดับเอเชียนะคะซึ่งก็คืองาน Carrier World Asia ประจำปี 2015 นั่นเองค่ะซึ่งงานนี้ค่ะถูกจัดขึ้นในวันนี้และวันพรุ่งนี้นะคะซึ่งก็คือวันที่ 24-25 มีนาคม ปี 2558 ค่ะโดยวัตถุประสงค์ของงานนี้นะคะนอกจากจะเป็นการแลกเปลี่ยนประเด็นทางธุรกิจระหว่างกลุ่มทวิภาคีผู้ให้บริการโทรคมนาคมระดับเอเชียแล้วนะคะยังมีการคอนเฟอเรนซ์เพื่อให้ความรู้ทางด้านเทคโนโลยีและก็เทรนด์การให้บริการเพื่อให้เกิดประโยชน์แก่ผู้ใช้งานสูงสุดค่ะถ้าเกิดว่าคุณผู้ชมพร้อมแล้วเดี๋ยวเราไปรับชมบรรยากาศภายในงานพร้อมๆกันเลยค่ะ
I'm from Cat Telecom. As you know, Cat Telecom is still 100% owned by the government, so we consider ourselves as the income bank of Thailand. Cat Telecom owns the only landing cable station in Thailand, so our main strength is also international, of course. We have to adapt to the new market. Changing in Thailand. CT is in the center of Indochina, so we have a lot of challenge and opportunity to grow with the Indochina.
My name is Rashid Al-Ali from Etisalat, Emirates Telecommunication Company of UAE. We are in this business since 1976. We are operating now over 19 countries in the Middle East, Asia, Africa. We are offering a variety of services.
Yes, I'm actually from Italy. To be a little background of Italy, Italy actually owns the license in Thailand and we operate in Thailand region. We offer the domestic bandwidth and also we have the international bandwidth. The key differentiator that Italy creates in this market is we not only own the fiber optic along the highway that normally people are doing, but we actually have it on the railway exclusively in Thailand. So this creates more reliability for the network.
Hi everyone, Ricky Chow from Left Communication. We are a US-based global telecom operator. We operate in 60 countries. We do about 8.1 billion revenue. We basically selling to B2B, so we sell to wholesale carrier. We also selling to enterprise customer, including content customers and government agencies as well.
My name is Mike McDonald. Hopefully everybody saw me present in the morning, but if not, I represent Huawei, so I'm a little bit of a wild card on this panel.
Thanks. I think the first question I'd like to ask would be for you, Mama. As far as Cat Telecom goes, your primary service offerings for wholesale, you offer obviously voice termination, and what other services, what do you see as the core markets that you're serving in wholesale? I stole your microphone.
Actually, you see the total revenue of CAT, half of the revenue comes from the mobile business in Thailand. So the international right now is decreasing in terms of the percentage of the total revenue of the company. But we still see ourselves as the leading service provider for the international. So since voice business is declining because of the new technologies, but the data business is growing. So we think that with the growing of the data demand, so we can still cope with the international revenue of the company and with the growing of the Indochina, so there will be a new chance for a new market that we can grow with.
Yes, and who are the primary wholesale customers that you serve?
Talking about the mobile service, our long-term partner is True. Since CAT is the MVNO service provider of the mobile service, and we do the very long contract with True last year. So the major of the revenue comes from the wholesale of the mobile service. But for the mobile of the data business, we also serve all the ISP in Thailand, and our internet gateway is still considered as the biggest one in Thailand. So our major customer is the ISP in Thailand, and also the trend of the IPRC, we also sell to the other, like the mobile service provider who need the connectivity to Singapore or Hong Kong because of demand of 3G and 4G is coming, so they need a huge demand. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. And Nutanai, I'd like to ask you about Interlink, and since you're also operating in the same general markets, what are the primary customers that you serve, and what are the dynamics you're seeing?
We actually focus on three customer types. One will be the infrastructure customer. Pretty much the same with CAT that we focus on the operator. Right now we cover all the infrastructure for the mobile operator in Thailand. The second one is the retail customer. Retail customer, we see that there's a lot of changing in terms of the business. They're looking for the bandwidth, not only the bandwidth, but they're looking for the value add service and everything that we can offer to them. So we bundle all the things with the data center, CDN, and everything together and offer to the customer. And the last 10% is about we just started interconnection with international.
And I think one other advantage that you have, of course, is also the political aspects that make it much more attractive to host content in Dubai and in the UAE than in a lot of the neighboring countries in the region, which I think has been one of the challenges. One of the reasons so much traffic got hyped across, to Europe was because content was hosted in Europe.
I mean, we are investing in the cable, the capacity since 86. And it's like a never-ending story. So we keep trying to enhance this infrastructure to very simple, classically, trying to attract the demand or to scatter the demand. But the issue till when? The numbers that we have or the analysis that we have is by 2020, all the upgraded system, plus the coming investor or initiated cable will not be able to cater the demand. So, and it's triangle. I have the customer, and we are the carriers, the telecom operators, and which is, I think it is a good model. We have the CDNs. So why do CDNs are still forcing us to come all the way to Europe to be able to utilize their capability? Why they don't share the infrastructure cost and try to bear some part of that cost and come closer to their customers? They are our customers, but at the same time, we are sharing the same customer. And at the end, the enhancement in the customer experience, it's a good benefit for both of us, which will add value to our both business. They will be able to push a lot of good commercials, good customer experience, and the same thing from our side. We'll find someone to utilize our network. Not just only our region, as well as to elaborate to Asia market instead of keep enhancing or extending their capability all the way to Europe for minimum 180 milliseconds to get the service they are asking with less than 80 to 100 milliseconds.
Ricky, I see you nodding. I'd like to just ask you about your own experience as far as international wholesale goes. Where do you see the market evolving for Level 3? Level 3 started out as a pure play wholesale, now you're an enterprise. And wholesale is a smaller part of your overall business now. Obviously, it's still growing, but as a share of your business, it's smaller. How do you see wholesale evolving for Level 3?
Well, wholesale is still very important for us. Revenue is one such story, right? It gives you the revenue we attribute from different buckets. But if you're looking at capacity, wholesale is very critical, right? So wholesale gives us the scale. Right, so when we enter a new market, if you will, we need to make wholesale enterprise internet. Otherwise, it's very difficult to justify that investment. When you go into the market. Now, on the other hand, what we're seeing in the last 10 years that 10 years ago, we approached the Asian carriers will sell their infrastructure, basically to enable internet usage in the region, right? So they come to us to buy maybe submarine capacity, IP, wholesale was primarily to enable consumer business. What we've been seeing is growing demand for enterprise business, not just from us, but in different markets, especially in, I would say, in both the developed market and developed market in the region. Why? Because you're seeing Asian enterprise are going regional, Asian enterprise are going global. And I think it's really difficult for Asian carrier to build global networks, right? So one of the easy things to do is to work with provider they have asset in the market. Likewise, it's no way for us to build a lab in Thailand. So if we come to Thailand, we would rather to work with a partner that they have the asset in the country, that make our life easy. So that's the thing we are seeing. I think the difference is when you go into that type of indirect business or channel business, it's very different because I think they're really looking for a solution, footprint, a solution to complement the enterprise offering. The other thing we're seeing about a lot of discussion on content is I think you look at the relation between wholesale. Sometimes I try to call them partner because we sell to them, we sell to our carrier customer. We also buy from them, so they are they are customer. They are also a supplier for us to some extent. And we are seeing a lot of cooperation working together. CDN is an example. How we can collaborate to deliver content into a country, right? So that's what we're seeing because the telco in the region, for example, in Thailand, they don't buy them. So we want to partner with them to deliver, to put out content. We're not only the content, we are a CDN operator, but to much closer to the eyeball in that country. We're also seeing, which is requirement from Asian carriers, they're seeing a domestic demand for CDN, right? So what they actually want to work with us to put together a domestic CDN footprint to enable that solution. So that's actually something really new. So it's not just a traditional wholesale model. We sold the asset to them. We actually work together in a partnership mode to offer them a solution for us to approach that contact from the country. So so I'm definitely seeing the evolution of wholesale. So the portfolio for wholesale is getting broader. I think it's driven by us as a provider. We got a broader portfolio. We want to distribute not just directly to our end customer. We want to distribute through our wholesale partner to their customer. On the other hand, we also see a growing demand from our wholesale customer. They want a broader portfolio from us and other players.
Mike, I'd like to turn the questions over to you for a moment. We haven't let you say anything. One of the basic questions I've got is that the whole purpose of wholesale carriers is to enable the delivery of retail services. And I'm trying to get I think it would be helpful to hear from you what you see as being the big drivers in retail. As far as differentiation, what's going on the retail side that carriers are trying to do on the retail side as far as differentiation? What do you see as being the challenges for them, and how might carriers on the wholesale side that are upstream from those providers do to help enable those services?
I think I don't really know what the proper terminology is anymore because we're talking about two different tiers, but I'll call them retail telcos. As retail telcos are sort of realigning around the customer experience, and they're no longer just selling data pipes, they're now actually looking inside of those data usage subscriptions and trying to figure out what are people trying to do in an application perspective. We've already seen cloud computing or data centers change from CPU and disk type or sales, which is what they used to be. You used to go to a data center 10 years ago and you'd say, I want 18 CPUs and I want 8 disks. The whole point of elastic cloud computing is to mask all that so that we can now do a pay-as-you-go model, and I no longer have to see that. It's entirely abstracted. So as the retail telcos will try to do the same thing with their bandwidth and try to offer the equivalent of like a pay-as-you-go bandwidth model, I would suspect that once they become comfortable with this type of billing mentality, that they will naturally put pressure back on the wholesale guys and say the same thing. Why am I buying ports and pipes? Like 10 years ago, I was buying CPU and disk. Why aren't I buying bits? Why aren't I buying bandwidth? And it already scales. Now I realize that the wholesale operators want to maximize their investment and try to run as close to capacity as possible. That's how they make money. Obviously in this pay-as-you-go model, you have to build this overcapacity that you don't really know who's going to use it and when it's going to be required. But that's how Google has transformed the data center space. And I would suspect that a natural evolution of the retail telco would to put that same sort of application-centric pay-as-you-go model pressure back on the wholesale guys. That's what I would expect to see.
Where do you see, I'm curious about sort of the evolution of wholesale in the coming years. You know, obviously the primary services right now are still minutes, ports, and pipes, I think. To what extent do you see also the opportunity to white label different types of services to some of your customers? I know that certain wholesale operators have tried to develop different white label offerings, such as white label cloud services, voice and other services that they can deliver to other business partners. Are those in your portfolio now? Do you see them being added to your portfolio in the coming years? Let's start with you.
For CAT, talking about the cloud, yesterday the government just announced the policy that to migrate or the investment of the every minister or department in Thailand to put the cloud in just only one single arm. So that kind of trend will give the impact to all the operator of cloud in Thailand. So at CAT we have the infrastructure, we have the capacity to international, we are the internet gateway, and our cloud is started for 2 years now. Our main customer is the government. So if the government still have this kind of the policy to combine all the investment together, so I think for CAT we have a lot of chance, especially for the government side, to provide kind of the cloud service. Even though CAT don't be the front end with the government, we can also be like the white label to the cloud service provider in Thailand as well. The other white label, since the wholesale, CAT sells IPRC to our partners, sometimes they resell to the other wholesale service customer. So that kind of the capacity resale or the white label is quite common, but the trend of the cloud could be another kick-off of the Thailand kind of the white label ones.
I think your question is the $1 million answer. I mean, the only thing that I can see that we spend as a telecommunications sector, we spend a lot of time investing our access capability. Then we spend another decade investing in our network infrastructure international. I think it's a time for the, if you remember the very old classification, the ISP, LSP, ASP. I think it is a time of the application service provider.
Is that another word for cloud?
It's therefore, I'm coming to that direction. I mean, it's being a cloud, or being an IPX platform, or being a white labeling, or the CDN, or the OTT. I think the capability of the existing infrastructure, including the hardware, it has a lot. Therefore, as Dr. Ricky mentioned, we are about to see evolution. But that type of evolution, it takes us where I think this is the $1 million direction. It is taking us away. And I think it's about to see, I mean, we are about to see a new business model where it is balancing between all these decades of investment in the infrastructure with the capability of the applications. The application tried during 2008 to attack us, but it could not. But now, I think it has the capability to utilize our infrastructure. But we need to put the right gatekeeper to find the right business model. So we both don't lose. And I think the regulation playing a big role in that.
One of the questions I've got as far as cloud goes is where does cloud fit into the wholesale portfolio? Are cloud services something that you see as a natural service that a wholesale provider should offer? Or is the role of the wholesale provider more in connecting to those cloud services and connecting customers to those cloud services? And there's always the challenges of sort of channel conflict of various types in there. And I see different companies making different business decisions. Where does Internet fit into something like that?
I think cloud is the way to go. As everybody mentioned about the evolution. Customers not really buy cloud.
But do you need to have your own cloud, or do you?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it depends on the business model. I mean, if you buy the cloud model, so that's probably not flexible to the cost when you give the offering to the customer. But if you have it, the cloud, you own the cloud, you can build the channel by yourself, or you can put the cloud to your channel and sell it to the market. So that's probably something that we can go to market. So what we are trying to do here, we have the infrastructure. It's easy for us in order to push the infrastructure to the customer, put the cloud throughout the infrastructure that we have to the customer. So basically, we can sell as an infra as a service. But once we develop the software, we can put the software throughout the infrastructure that we have and put it into the customer premise so that we can sell on that. And the good thing that being in the wholesale market is we have the interconnection in each region. If you want to use the service from US, for example, like application from US, we can put it all the way throughout the pipe that we have in interconnect and put it into the customer premise. So it helps to reduce all the CapEx that we have, change it to the model that to be the OpEx. And the customer is happy with that because they can pay as they want to use it. They don't have to pay upfront. They can use as a monthly, recurring, and everything. And all the service provider, wholesale provider get all the costs. So that's probably something that wholesale have to develop. We also in Thailand, yes, we also develop wholesale, but we know that a lot of good cloud service in Singapore and Hong Kong. So in order to invest by ourselves, we just connect and pull out all the service throughout the infrastructure that we have, infrastructure that we are already made put to the customer because we have the customer in hand, sharing all together back to them. So that will be some changing that we see in this customer market.
Ricky, where does level 3 fall into this? I know you've got some services like hosted voice, but I'm not sure where level 3 is in terms of cloud. I think you're taking
so yes, thank you for giving us a chance. So we look at us as more a cloud enabler rather than a cloud provider. So we enable cloud operator for our own asset. The other thing we're actually doing is we see our enterprise customer a buying service from the public cloud. So we need to enable them to connect to those areas. So that's why we've been connecting to AWS and Azure and Google's and Equinix and HP, so and so forth on a global basis. Basically to enable our enterprise customer easier to connect with the cloud. But Stephen, I actually want to comment on the first question you asked about the wider portfolio. Maybe just share example of level 3. So we operate in 60 countries. And our customer corporate expect us to provide service in 100 countries, right? And there's no way in a short term we can build our level in 40 countries organically. So in this business, we need to work with partners. Even though we have hubs in the 60 countries, for example, Thailand and Taiwan, we still need to work with the local player to provide the local asset because we don't own the natural level in those countries. And this is actually from our buy side, this is going, right? So I think this is, when you look at the evolution, if you will, this is actually we buy more from our wholesale partner, not just the submarine cable, but more about local asset in the country, the NNI that connect us with the other 40 countries, we don't have coverage. Now, going to our experience to work with the carrier customer, I mean, the business has really changed more in the paradigms, because when you, traditionally when you sold bandwidth is basically plug and play, right? So I sold your big pipe, you want the service on top of it. I don't care about what service you put on that 10 gig, 100 gig link. But when you go into the partnership business, I mean, one, we don't really white label. We actually make it very transparent. We tell the customer that we actually use that provider in that country. So we don't need to hide that this is our network. That's number one. Secondly, when we work with a customer, it's not just about give them the lowest price or compare pricing. It's the whole integration, and this is actually we believe is our differentiation. But the whole integration and automation from coding, so the partner can actually use our coding system to do the coding, to ordering. So they can actually use the same portal to place a reorder instead of send us a paper order. And then provisioning and service storage. So we actually spend a lot of time when we sign an NNI partner, not just putting a physical NNI with them, but to align the P-sale, post-sale, and service storage process with them. So make sure when their customer call their NOC, the similar experience they can reach out to NOC for the footprint we provide them.
So in the new world of wholesale, what you're wholesaling is other carriers' services.
If you allow me, Stephen, the cloud as a cloud service is something that exists. But what is happening now in the market is like a restructure. So for example, in Etisalat or in UAE, the cloud service is something it's available. And our end user are utilizing the foreign cloud available service in the market. We have recently launched our cloud platform for our retail and consumer sector. But in the wholesale side, we believe that in each cloud there is a limitation, either by its service, in terms of license, capability, or by reachability. So what we are trying is to ensure that our cloud are at least connected to the most demanded application. So in case of that application is not available within our cloud, we can always try to white label others or to extend the line between our cloud and others. So therefore we are running in parallel.
I think that's bringing us to the end of our session here. I think one of the interesting things we're learning here is that wholesale is certainly in the process of changing and moving from, I think, for lack of a better term, the important pipe model to a set of somewhat more complex and somewhat more differentiated offerings. But I think we're all still trying to figure it out a bit as we go along. I don't think that anyone's quite got the answer yet, or has yet figured out exactly how to scale it up for all audiences. But I think it's going to be an interesting period of evolution, and especially with the deployment of SDN, that's going to allow some of these services to be turned up more rapidly, which I think will create the ability to, which will create some quicker dynamics in terms of deployment of new services, which promises to be an interesting evolution over the next 3 to 5 years. With that, I'd like to thank all of you for your time, and that brings us to the end of this first day of Carriers World Asia 2015. I think there's a few housekeeping notes. This evening's reception is being hosted by China Unicom for the closing reception, and I believe they'd like to say a few words. I'd like to thank the panelists.
เป็นอย่างไรกันบ้างคะคุณผู้ชมหลังจากที่ได้ชมบรรยากาศภายในงาน Carrier World Asia 2015 กันไปเป็นที่เรียบร้อยแล้วนะคะดิฉันยังได้ทราบมาอีกนะคะว่าในปีนี้นั้นมีจำนวนผู้เข้าร่วมงานมากที่สุดในสถิติหลายๆปีที่ผ่านมาด้วยค่ะในครั้งหน้านะคะรายการของเราจะพาคุณผู้ชมไปรับชมบรรยากาศงานอีเวนท์ที่ไหนอย่างไรนั้นอย่าลืมติดตามรับชมรายการ Cat Showcase ค่ะสำหรับวันนี้ดิฉันลาไปพร้อมกับภาพบรรยากาศภายในบูธ Cat ด้านหลังของดิฉันนี้นะคะสวัสดีค่ะ